council meeting called order. Mr. Grigsby, lead us to pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public hearings, we have none.
Roll call.
Citizens' comments on agenda-related items. What?
Roll call.
I'm sorry. Roll call.
Councilmember Cooper.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton.
Here.
Mayor Zielinski.
I think I'm here.
Councilmember Goodspeed.
Here.
Councilmember Schmansky.
Here.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Here.
Councilmember Pontiac.
Here.
City Manager.
Here.
City Attorney.
Here.
DPW Director.
Here.
Finance Director.
Here.
Planning and Zoning Director. Public Safety Director. City Engineer. Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearings, we have none. Citizens' comments on agenda-related items. Do we have any citizens that would like to comment on the agenda-related items? Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Approach the podium and give your name and address.
Mike Herbert, I believe you all know where I live by now, but, and Dale more so than I sometimes. 306 Hancock Street. Ooh, this sun's gonna be a problem. In regards to City Council's recent decisions concerning the Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act, that is to say the legalization of recreational marijuana, I find it extremely aggravating when the electorate gets so fed up with the situation that they create and support a grassroots movement to enact a law, and our representatives then, right out of the gate, adopt these dilatory tactics. Tactics meant to put off, prolong, and delay the implementation of that law. After recently succeeding at that by convincing council to back a moratorium to opt out of the act, those guiding city council have pushed further forward in their effort to stymie the will of the electorate by putting before council an ordinance intended to continue to persecute, prosecute, and criminalize the public use of marijuana by making public use prosecutable as a misdemeanor rather than a civil infraction, thereby continuing to stigmatize users with a criminal conviction. City Council, in your first vote, agreed unanimously to that continued criminalization. This is not the spirit and intention of the law. The people's intention in writing this law was to be free from fear and prosecution, to continue to persecute, prosecute, and criminalize as a misdemeanor the public use of marijuana against the will of the electorate and the spirit and intention of the law is unjust and unforgivable. If you feel compelled to fall in line with the state, make it a civil infraction, punishable by a fine only, not a criminal record, as Ann Arbor did 45 years ago. The city condones and supports, as evidenced by tonight's agenda, the public use and celebration of alcohol on River Street, at Douglas First Street Park, and the public use of marijuana should be criminalized. It is not City Council's job to thwart, but to implement the will of the electorate. You have the option, the ability, and in my opinion, the duty to do just that. We need not be governed by the state in this instance, or by the whims of others, but governed locally by the representatives of the people who voted this law into existence, the people who voted for you to represent them. Or have you no shame as elected representatives of the voters in working against the will of those voters? You obviously have a choice, or you wouldn't be being asked to make one. Or is this all a sham with the outcome a foregone conclusion? I ask again that you put aside personal biases. Your personal biases are no longer relevant. The people have spoken. This is the law. To enact this ordinance is to flip the voters the bird. If you enact this ordinance criminalizing public use, you, the city manager and city attorney, should be forthright enough to stand on the steps of City Hall, face the voters, and put that bird in words. Now, I believe the city manager has received some correspondence from local attorneys and business people with their concerns regarding this. Hopefully you'll all get copies of that. And I may be incorrect, but I don't believe
You have
those-
1 minute.
Pardon me?
You have 1 minute.
Okay. And I may be incorrect, but I don't believe those speaking tonight would mind being quoted in the News Advocate should the News Advocate choose to cover these proceedings in any detail. I thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Don War Hardware. Probably know all you pretty well.
Don, just tell us your address, okay?
87 Division is the business address.
Thank you.
I remember very well when Manistee was having a tremendous economic problem in the 70s and 80s, and hundreds of people threw together to put together all kinds of things to bring tourists to the city. And it worked. The Forest Festival, huge success now. Sleigh Bell Parade, people coming from all over the Midwest. And if you look at the numbers of the people that voted for the referendum on marijuana use, you gotta know that a lot of the people that are coming here are smoking marijuana. Okay, I mean, there's no magic to the numbers. And my fear is not that we're gonna, I know you wanna control behavior, I understand that. I don't agree with that, this kind of control. I think the whole thing on marijuana has always been about control. But I fear in implementing a criminal penalty, you're gonna walk down the street and see some kids from out of town. And we're gonna give them a slap with them with a misdemeanor. Or we're gonna see somebody on their boat. Or we're gonna see somebody getting off one of the fishing boats. And we're gonna say, boy, there's an easy one. Let's control their behavior. And that's all right, I suppose, except you know how quickly that would run through the tourist industry in the state of Michigan? About the time you issue 3 or 4 of those misdemeanors, you know what would happen in the fishing industry. You know how quickly the fishermen would go about it all over the state. You can do that, but I don't think it's a good idea. We kind of live on the tourist industry. I know I do. It sure doesn't happen in the wintertime here. And if we start tinkering with the blend of tourism, it could hurt me. That's why I'm here. Hurt my friends that run businesses here. I don't think that's a good idea. I think it would be a better idea to help a little bit, help encourage tourism, because you want people to come to Manistee once and enjoy themselves. You don't want them coming back for their second trip as a court date. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to agenda-related items?
I'd like to thank the council for hearing my words. My name's Sean Herbert, 306 Hancock Street.
Thank you.
About 10 years ago, I was in a pretty bad accident. Shattered my entire left ankle, 2 spiral fractures of my tibia and fibula. the surgeon, Dr. Kennedy, fabulous surgeon, told me that it was, in 19 years of his 22 years practice, he hadn't seen a break as bad. He told me I might not ever be able to walk without a limp. I did very well in my therapy with that, and I can. Full rotation. It's been very good over the past decade or so. But I've used medical marijuana since that time to do what I need to do throughout my day to be able to get through some of the situations that I need to get through in my life. And I know firsthand the damage that these types of charges have. I've gone through them myself, and I've had many friends that have gone through them. And in my opinion, unnecessarily. We've had a century of propaganda and it's just based on lies, okay? The damage that marijuana supposedly does doesn't exist. And the fact that, like my dad said, the city allows public use of alcohol in the parks and on the beaches, and this council's trying to continue to villainize and criminalize this substance and people that use it is wrong. And I would urge every single one of you to really think about what you're voting for here and the effect that it's going to have on citizens that don't need to go through the court system anymore for this type of situation. I guess that's all I have for you. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you.
My name is Danielle Simo. My residence is in Barrel Lake, but I figured since it was within the county that I could come. I've been trying to get a house here for the past 3 years.
You're fine. Go ahead.
12115 Lynn Street in Bear Lake.
Okay.
In 2014, I was in Oregon, and I got to vote for Oregon to pass recreational marijuana laws, which was super cool because I got to see over the next 2 years how that benefited the community in so many ways. In 2016, though, my son was diagnosed with autism, and so I packed my entire life into a car, and I came back here to be with my mother and my family and my support system. In the car, underneath the back seat was a piece of unpacked paraphernalia. And in the late 2016, I was pulled over for a routine stop, and the piece was found. And luckily, my fiance, was with me in the vehicle, so he could take the charges for it. And that's lucky because if it wasn't for him taking those charges, I wouldn't be allowed to graduate from West Shore Community College because my FAFSA would have been taken away. And I wouldn't be able to work at Spectrum Community Services taking care of the developmentally disabled. And I wouldn't be in school to be a CNA to work with people that are dying up at Paul Oliver. And it really saddens me that after all this time, you would rather see us as criminals than as people with their vices, like those in bars or those that smoke cigarettes. So I'm sorry I'm getting teary-eyed, but I just think it's really important to fight for what you believe is right. And I don't believe that penalizing someone and giving someone a criminal record that will stifle their lives is right, especially for something so simple as a plant in the ground. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak to related items?
Thank you for allowing me to talk. My name is Thomas Dame, 635 Piney Road. I'm a newbie here to the area, although I left in the 70s. And as opposed to some of the other people that have spoken, I'm just kind of aghast that the discussion is about whether to make this smoking marijuana in public a criminal or a misdemeanor. I say it should be nothing. Coming into this building, I have asthma, and I don't smoke. And again, I'm a newbie. I had to walk through a haze of tobacco, which is a plant leaf, somebody's smoking. We're talking about someone else wanting to smoke a plant leaf. I have a 22-year-old daughter, chronic pain. What gives her relief is CBD and a derivative of marijuana. It's a medicine. Whether it's epilepsy or seizures for my daughter, it's true, it helps her. And to suggest that if we're on the beach or we're on Riverwalk and she can't get some medicine or else risk being arrested or given a ticket citation, I have a problem with that. I've been to Oregon, I've been to California, I've been to Colorado where it's legal and there's stores all over the place. That's something Michigan is now wrestling with, I get it. But it's not the fear that everybody has, or older people have, quite frankly, and I'm pushing 60, as opposed to the opioid meth issue. Now, I want to support our law enforcement people, and I say, you know what, whether it's alcohol on the beach, I'm freaking out around here where I can go to the Wesco and there's shelves of liquor everywhere. That freaks me out. I'm not used to that where I came from. Where I came from, you had to go to a state store and buy liquor, and you had to go to a different store and buy a case of beer. It's all regulated differently than here in Michigan. Here I can go everywhere, and there's alcohol. And I walk to the front door of this place, and I have to walk through a haze of tobacco. And people don't think that that's just the way it is here. I'm freaking out. I don't smoke. I'm concerned that you're jumping on something that's scary, unknown, get that. But I have a daughter who finds some value in this plant. I want to support our law enforcement people and say, you know what? If somebody's, let them drink a beer on the beach. But if they get in the car and they're loaded, bust them. They smoke a joint on the Riverwalk, bust them. I'm all for that. But we're talking about freedom here of, especially my daughter. It's a medical thing. Times are changing. I don't want criminal penalties. I don't want misdemeanor penalties. I want no penalties. Just like you want to start making penalties, give a penalty for everybody I got to walk through that triggers my asthma when I walk in the front door of this public building because I got to walk through tobacco. I was amazed when I went to the casino up here. Huge casino. Where's the smoke-free area? It's about the size of this. Now you think about that. Those poor workers that have to work every single day of their life in that casino over there, breathing that nasty cancer-causing tobacco. And you're over here negotiating whether it should be a criminal offense or a misdemeanor
1 minute.
to smoke a joint. I'm sorry. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak to agenda-related items?
Barry Lind, 532 4th Street. There are actually two agenda items that I want to comment on tonight, and kind of under different circumstances. So the first is the agenda item with regards to the charter contract franchise agreement renewal. And I'm kind of basically speaking with that with my interim director of the PEG Commission hat on there. And with regards to that, as you probably are aware, the PEG Commission receives funding for our operations through specifics in that franchise agreement. So as an agreement, we are fully supportive of your renewing of that. But there is one thing I want to note. I had conversations with the city manager last week on this topic, but in reviewing the specifics of the document yesterday, There's a discrepancy between the cover letter from charter and the actual agreement. And the text in the cover letter talks about the PEG fee being 42 cents per month. The text of the contract says 22 cents. I believe 22 is the right number. All I say is that before you approve it, that the number be the same number that's been in place, which I believe is the 22 number, but because it's written differently in two places, I just wanted to point that out in case I was wrong on which one was the current rate. Because to see our funding cut in half if the wrong number was used would hurt the organization, what we're trying to accomplish. So that's my comments there. The second thing, taking off my PEG Commission hat and not putting any hat on, this is just comments from me as a citizen, not related to any of the boards I sit on. And that's with regards to the scope of work and the contract with the Chamber of Commerce or its new organization for economic development. And I have to watch my words carefully tonight because I want to make sure I say what I feel here and I'm not misunderstood. So I first want to start off with, I'm fully supportive of what the council is doing and collaborating with an organization to do economic development. So I fully support what actions the council has taken up to this point, and I think the direction you're going is the right direction. However, I do have some concerns about the specifics of the agreement as it is presented to you tonight. And I kind of want to go back in history a little bit. And again, this is me speaking individually. Is I've seen this community, and it's broader than just the city, it's also at the county level, struggle with economic development for 3 or more years now. And I've sat through multiple meetings and multiple discussions, both here as well as at the county. And a theme that came out of those conversations as it related to the former organization doing economic development, AES, was there was a perception of we're unhappy with what that organization is doing. There isn't accountability. There aren't deliverables. There aren't all these specifics. They're off doing some things. We don't know what's going on. 3 years of that, and tonight, part of me feels that we're just recreating what we had 3 years ago. We are contracting with an outside organization that's got an independent board that's made up of various organizations. And we have a contract that when it comes to the scope of work is a whole 5 sentences. The deliverables are that 4 retention visits will happen per month and a monthly report to the city manager and a quarterly report to council. You were complaining about that a year or two, that you needed more information, and now you're presented with a contract that is very non-specific. And my fear is that a year from now, maybe there's turnover in this board, that there will be again disagreement. Oh, well, they're not doing what we want them to do. Well, you have the opportunity to say what you want them to do, and you haven't taken advantage of that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak to the gender-related items?
Hello, Shelley Doyne from the Ideal Kitchen, 421 River Street, downtown West End. First of all, I do want to agree with Barry's comments. AES, I don't remember, it was a long time ago, I don't remember if, and I'm speaking as a business owner, downtown West End, been there for 13 years. So that's where I'm coming from, and I honestly don't remember what or if anything came about the AES. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't know if the chamber plan will deliver what all 3 entities want and desire. And the reason I'm saying that is I believe, I don't know if that will happen, but it's because I think we all have really different needs between the county, the city, and even our downtown, development authority area. And so I don't know how one, what do I want to say? One opportunity like that for someone to do everything that everybody's really wanting and expecting. So, and as I, continue to invest time, money, a lot of it, and years in our downtown, I guess I'm looking for someone that will specialize in helping the downtown grow. Just like somebody's gonna specialize to help the county grow. And between the three of us, we become very successful if we work together. So I just say, and my daddy told me, he was a businessman, that if you build a viable, successful downtown, people will come, and it will also start to do the whole county and cities within that. So I just hope we can all work together. And my second thing, real quick, 13 years, April 13th, for the
Congratulations.
Ideal Kitchen. Yay, thank you. And so I'm really hoping that I can get the approval for the food truck salad.
We'll have to check on that.
What's that?
I'm sorry. No, I'm happy for you.
Oh, thank you.
13 years, that's a long time.
I'm excited. So I'm hoping that the, my food truck thing goes through for out front Saladino Smoke. They're gonna be there, hopefully. And, we'll just have a great time, great deals, great everything, and I hope I see everyone there.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak to consent agenda related items?
My name is Allison Anderson, 609 Davis Street. I'm completely brand new to this, so sorry if I really don't know what I'm doing.
You're doing fine.
So in regards to the consideration of ordinance 1908, chapter 1024 is sidewalks and riverwalk. When my husband and I, we walk our dog all the time. I'm sure the police officers, they see us all the time in the morning, afternoon, evenings. And 90% of the time, we walk our dogs downtown. Now during the day, as you see in the summertime, this is a tourist town. We get a ton of tourists in this town. Our dog is part pit bull. As you know, pit bulls, they have the brand that people are terrified of. My dog, biggest baby in the world. He will sit there and pee on your leg. But people are terrified of pit bulls. And so most of the time, I'm not gonna lie, we have walked the Riverwalk. It just happens. Yes, we've seen the signs before, but honestly, if you walk the Riverwalk, you will see a million other people walking their dogs. Have we ever had a problem with them? No. Have we seen other people picking up their dog poop along with us? Yes. Even at the end of one of the Riverwalks, there's a little fire hydrant with a little dog area. So why would you guys build a little dog area at the end of the Riverwalk if not for the dogs? Not really understanding that area, but also, when we walk those areas, every single year when these tourists comes, they bring their boats. On these boats are dogs. There's always 3 to 5 dogs on these boats. So what are you gonna tell these people on these boats? I'm sorry, but you can't have your dogs on these boats because you can't walk them on the boardwalk? I mean, that's what they do. They take their dogs off the boats and they walk them up and down the boardwalk. That's what they do. So my husband and I walk our dog on the boardwalk a lot of the times to avoid the people up on the sidewalks. One, not only for the businesses, because we don't want to deter people away from the businesses, but we also do it for just the people in general that are walking up there, because we don't want our dog to take up the room on the sidewalk. And we don't want to walk in the road to be in the way of traffic. We want to make sure that, we're being safe for ourselves. So we do walk the boardwalk. And I think making it now an actual law that you can't walk the boardwalk with a dog is going a little too far. I mean, yes, making a rule that, yes, you do need to pick up after your dog, you do need to clean up, of course, that is a given. That needs to be said, that needs to be done. But I do that. I see multiple other people doing that. I don't know why all of a sudden now it needs to be a law after how many years has it never been a law? I mean, Manistee it's never been a law in Manistee, and now all of a sudden you guys want to make it a law? I just don't understand the concept of where this need for it to be a law came into play. I guess if I would like more explanation on why it needed to come into play to be a law, I would like that. But that was my spiel on that. Also, just a quick thing, I don't know if I could backtrack real quick, but on the whole marijuana thing, I would just like to say that I had back surgery. I was injured for 3 years. I had spinal fusion, and my doctor, I was actually addicted to narcotics. And my doctor finally said, let's try CBD oil. And I tried that for 3 weeks, and I am no longer addicted to narcotics. And I'm also off the CBD oil. So I honestly have no problems with marijuana, CBD, because if it wasn't for that, I don't know where I'd be right now. I could be laying in a ditch dead for all I know, because I could be addicted to opioids, narcotics, who knows. So when it comes to the marijuana laws, I have absolutely no problems, because it literally was a life changer for me. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak to agenda-related items? Last call. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Gabriel Matthijs. My address is 319 and a half River Street, number 4. I guess the idea I'd like to bring to you is the idea of like the Qin in the Han Dynasty. The Qin Dynasty ruled out every way of writing except for one. They ruled out every way of behavior except for one. And they were going to create the greatest dynasty on earth, and this is recommended throughout history to be noted. The Qin Dynasty lasted, and it got its objectives achieved, but it penalized the children for their parents' teachings and behavior, which you really can't break the cycle of. You can't interfere with that. I see this on a first-hand basis because I'm an attorney, and I don't believe in penalizing children. Anyways, after they ruled out all the ways you shouldn't be, they had only one way out, essentially. The Qin Dynasty was supposed to last a millennium. It didn't. It lasted 49 years. And the Han Dynasty ruled out every laws except for murder and theft, I believe, and they lasted about 800 years. What I'm thinking is, what you're talking about right now isn't going to damage an adult who wants to break a law. It's going to damage a child, some goofy kid who's got dreams of a future, who's got peer pressure, who's got problems. I don't really want to defend that kid. I mean, I'd love to protect his future, but I don't think you really feel what I'm saying. I used to live out in Seattle before marijuana was legalized. I saw meth, crack, and cocaine heads, heroin addicts on a daily basis. After they legalized it, things were far less obtrusive. You could walk down the street in a safer manner. I experienced this firsthand for years while I was working as an attorney out in Washington as well. I'd like you to consider who you're really going to hurt. You're not going to hurt any savvy drug user. You're going to hurt a bunch of kids. Let's not ruin their futures. Let's keep their futures bright, and let's keep them out of my purview. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak to agenda-related items? Anybody else? Okay, we'll move along. Consent agenda. All items marked with an asterisk are on the consent agenda and considered by the city manager to be routine matters. Prior to approval of the consent agenda, any member of council may have an item from the consent agenda removed and taken up during the regular portion of the meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to request that we remove the ordinance 1905, chapter 662, peace disturbance from the consent agenda, please.
Okay, we'll be removing item 7B from the consent agenda. And we'll take it up right on unfinished business right after.
Right, Mayor Zelinski.
Yes.
I would also like to remove consideration of ordinance 1908, Chapter 1024 sidewalks and Riverwalk, to give us a chance to fully explain what this ordinance allows and does not allow on the Riverwalk.
Okay, so we're gonna also remove E, 7E, and we'll also take that up under unfinished business right after the consent agenda. Is there anyone else? Seeing none? Consent items, the amended consent agenda items include approval of minutes, payroll, invoice, consideration of ordinance 19-04, chapter 663 fireworks, consideration of ordinance 1906, chapter 606 animals, consideration of ordinance 1907, chapter 1482 residential rental properties, consideration of ordinance 1909, chapter 292 employee savings plan, and chapter 294 employees retirement system, notification regarding next work session, consideration of a food truck on River Street for the Ideal Kitchen celebration, consideration of annual Forest Festival event, consideration of annual Grapes on the River event. At this time, council can take action to approve the consent agenda, the amended consent agenda as presented. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion we approve it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any more discussion?
Just think, just not to point you out, but to answer your question, the Riverwalk dogs will be allowed under this. And make sure I'm right, from the American Legion to the just past the city marina. That's so people can avoid downtown with their dogs. I'm not trying to point, but you would ask the question, and I was just giving your answer. First Street Beach to the marina is prohibited, but from the marina east down to the end of the Riverwalk, which is down past House of Flavors and the 31 Bridge, they will be allowed. And the reason, one of the reasons behind that was so people didn't have to walk their dogs downtown with the hustle bustle of everybody.
There's a boat launch.
Yep.
That we have that I take my dog to, that is just past that, so I'm not allowed to take my dog to that boat launch.
Okay, we can bring that up during when we talk about the ordinance. Please take the roll.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, on unfinished business, the first thing we're going to talk about is consideration of ordinance 1905, chapter 662, peace disturbance. There are actually two parts to this ordinance. I'll read both parts. Two changes were made to chapter 662. First, section 662.01B.1 provides that being intoxicated in a public place, standing alone, is not a violation, but the individual must also be acting in a way that endangers the safety of someone, endangers property, or is causing a public disturbance. This change was to conform with the requirements of Michigan law. The second section, section 662.01B.15, was added to provide the consumption of marijuana in the public place other than in an area identified by the private property owner is prohibited. The Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act allows municipalities to authorize consumption in a public place, and the ordinance is intended to make clear that it is not authorized in Manistee. The act is silent as to what penalties, if any, is imposed for violating this restriction against consumption in a public place. The ordinance makes it a misdemeanor to consume in a public place. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I make a motion that we adopt the ordinance 1905, chapter 662, the section B1 only, and that we withdraw the section B15 dealing with marijuana.
I'll second that.
Okay, I do have a motion. Mr. Saylor, did you want to speak to that issue?
Thank you, Your Honor. About a week ago, I had communicated to council that I thought it would be a wise decision to do exactly what Councilmember Szymanski has suggested. I think for three reasons. One is Councilman Szymanski had pointed out some questions that he had with regard to the language that instead of addressing by way of resolution if there was an event that the city wanted to authorize consumption of marijuana in a public place, that we could incorporate it right in the ordinance, and I thought that was a good suggestion. As well, Mr. Mayor, you had pointed out, and you and I have had this discussion over the last few years, that enacting an ordinance that then allows the city to violate its own ordinance in a sense really isn't something that we like to do either. And then thirdly, we have been working on and in fact have a draft of our recreational marijuana ordinance that hopefully we'll have presented to council before that opt-out sunset provision applies, and so we can incorporate, if there's still a desire to have a restriction against consumption in a public place consistent with the state law, we can incorporate that into that ordinance. So I think that it would make sense for council at this time to approve the ordinance just with the public intoxication amendment and with the removal of the recreational marijuana portion.
Thank you. Is all the council members clear on the motion? Are we all clear?
Yes.
Okay, any more discussion? Please take the roll.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consider, the next is under unfinished business, consideration of ordinance 1908, chapter 1024, sidewalks and river walks. The proposed change, chapter 1024, prohibits walking dogs along the river walk from the east end of the city, from the west end of the city marina to the west end of the river walk. Bicycles, skateboards, and rollerblading are prohibited along all portions of the river walk, just like chapter 606. By providing these restrictions in the ordinance, city police officers are able to ticket violations. The proposed change makes clear that the violations of chapter 1024 is a civil infraction. This ordinance has been reviewed by Council Ordinance Committee. As an ordinance, 2 separate readings are required. The ordinance was introduced at the March 5th, 2019 meeting and could be adopted at this time. At this time, council could take action to adopt ordinance 1908, chapter 1024, sidewalk and river walks. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Oh.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes. Just for clarification, because this has been a big issue in the past, people do want to walk their dogs on the Riverwalk, and we can post signs up there, but the signs aren't really enforceable. It's just our policy. It's not really an ordinance. So in order to appease the public, because there's a lot of people that do want to walk their dogs, from the east end by the American Legion building, all the way up to the marina, where, just past the marina where the Riverwalk narrows, was a good area to put the ordinance into effect that dogs are allowed to walk there. So dogs are allowed to walk there, and anybody beyond that, if they're walking them illegally, they can be stopped and explain to them that it's a civil offense or civil infraction against the city ordinance. I'm not sure what I'm saying at that point.
You're right.
Okay. But anyway, we just wanted to make it clear. It's not enforceable if it's not in our ordinance. So we had to kind of match at least up the parts that we wanted to make it enforceable, and we wanted to absolutely open up that part of the Riverwalk. I'm a dog owner too. I think my dog's gonna really love doing that, so.
Now, if I could, the reason why from basically from where the funeral home is at the end of the marina to First Street is that it is very narrow. There's no escape route. If 2 dogs cross or a person and a dog, There's no escape route for the person or the dogs. And that's the reason. It really comes down to public safety on that issue. When you get to the rest of there's plenty of places to step aside or rein your dog in. So that's the reason why the compromise. For a long time, the reason was that there was an ordinance that none of the Riverwalk could be used was because of the safety issues. So I think we,
This has already been discussed.
There has been a lot of
yes,
complaints.
lots.
Okay, this isn't the time to carry on discussion.
So I just wanted to explain the reason why it's literally only almost one person wide in places. And that's why the restriction from there to the First Street beat.
But there's never been a problem.
Ma'am, I couldn't say.
Is there any other discussion, council members?
Nope.
Hearing none, please take the roll.
Councilmember Grabowski,
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski,
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac, Yes. Councilmember Goodspeed,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton,
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski.
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. Under new business, consideration of Olga Street vacation request. The Little River Band of Ottawa Indians, Gary Neeson and Donald Pacheski request to vacate the southern portion of Olga Street from midway block between the 8th Street and continuing to the remaining portion of the entire block of Olga Street between the 9th Street and 10th Street. The Planning Commission took action at their March 7th, 2018 meeting to recommend approval. At this time, council could take action to approve the request to vacate the southern portion of Olga Street.
I'll make that motion.
I will second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski,
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac, Yes. Mayor Zelinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed,
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of renewing Charter Communication Local Franchise Agreement. Charter Communications is requesting a 10-year renewal for a local franchise agreement. The current franchise fee is 5% of the PEG fee and the PEG fee of 22 cents will remain the same in the renewal agreement. At this time, council could take action to authorize a 10-year renewal for the local franchise agreement with Charter Communication. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I really appreciate the fact that we had a citizen come forward and point out the difference between the cover letter and the contract. So I think now would be a good time to find out what the answer is.
That was a mistake by Charter, and I talked with Marilyn about that, and she was glad we found it. And so the correct fee is 22 cents. That's what we have been collecting.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Councilmember Goodspeed,
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski, Councilmember Pontiac, Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Beaton.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration as acting as a fiduciary for Blossom Boulevard. Blossom Boulevard has been part of Manistee community for decades. A new committee has formed a new committee has formed to once again plant flowers along US 31, beginning this spring. Until Blossom Boulevard cooperation can be reinstated with the state of Michigan, the committee is requesting the city of Manistee act as a fiduciary to process payments to vendors. The city would be reimbursed from existing funds and new donations being managed by the Manistee County Foundation. At this time, council could take action to approve acting as a fiduciary to Blossom Boulevard until such time as the corporation can be reinstated with the state of Michigan. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I just want to thank the people who stepped forward to make that Blossom Boulevard a reality again. That's super. If there's no other discussion, please take the roll.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Consideration of a 2019 Category B grant application. The Michigan Department of Transportation notified the city that a new grant program has been created to assist with paving streets for communities with a population less than 10,000. The maximum grant amount is $250,000 with a 50-50 match. The city has identified eligible street segments adjacent to planned construction and will utilize as match money. The application is for the 2019 construction season. At this time, council could take action to adopt a resolution authorizing Jeff W. McCullough to act as an agent on behalf of the city and sign the projected agreement, commits the city to 1/2 of the construction cost, and commits the city to a maintenance program for design life of the facility constructed. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion.
And I will second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. McCullough, is this new money that we're talking about, or is this money that was already budgeted for roads that will be used as our half?
So, in the current budget, council provided $200,000 for reconstruction of local streets, and we selected some roads in the area of Fremont, a block of Hughes Street, 2nd Avenue, and Melitzer. We believe that the rural development loan, or the proceeds from our rural development bond, will actually pay for the entire construction cost. We're not 100% certain, but the more we dialogue with their engineers, the more that they don't want to have matching funds, and they want to do a whole project and make that eligible. So we've been working with rural development to define that. So about the time that information came forward, we became aware that the Category B money was something new. And if you look at the memo that I wrote, there's 4 or 5 different preferences that they are going to award, and we meet every one of those preferences. So what we did was took that existing work, that body of work, and we were putting that in our application and showing them that we're going to do additional work adjacent to for the benefits. So what this would do, if the grant is awarded, is we would take the $250,000 grant, we would match that with the $200,000 that council allocated towards local street reconstruction, and then use $50,000 from our local streets. That doesn't change any of the other planned work that we have. That's another $500,000 that we're kind of using the money that's available to stretch it as far as we can.
Great. Sounds like a great plan. Thank you.
And just to anticipate the same question on the next agenda item, because they're accepting applications for 2019 and 2020 at this time. The 2020 projects that we selected, we actually took the projects that were in our existing transportation improvement plan, and it totals just about $250,000, and then we added a whole new street segment to that. So it would take existing planned projects that we would pay for with cash, and it would try to double it up with a grant application to do a whole nother, or several more street segments.
So let me just feed back to you what I think I hear you saying, is that we don't have to come up with extra money. We're going to use what we're already spending as the match money.
That's correct. We're leveraging projects and funds available to do additional work. So this is all stuff that would advance planned projects ahead by several years. And it doesn't require any new funding from the city.
Thank you.
Some of these streets gonna be like Lincoln and all them that are getting pretty bad now?
Those are actually, Lincoln Street is actually in our 2020 plan. I believe that's, some of those other streets are already in our transportation improvement plan, so we're just trying to extend this out further and further.
Jeff, can you mention about how this interplays with Project Rising Tide?
Yeah, so at least for the 2019 application, Projects that can be completed this year receive special attention. Also, the fact that the city of Manistee is a rising tide gets additional attention. If you spend the money on local street work, that gets you bonus points. And then if you're doing other utility upgrades below those streets, that will be additional consideration. So I think we should do pretty well in 19. In 2020, for the second application, the same set of conditions apply, except for that condition of being able to construct this year.
Any other questions? Please take the roll.
Councilmember Grabowski,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski,
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of a 2020 Category B grant application. The Michigan Department of Transportation notified the city that a new grant program has been created to assist with paving streets for communities with populations less than 10,000. The maximum grant amount is $250,000 with a 50-50 match. The city has identified eligible street segments adjacent to planned construction and will utilize these projects as match money. This application is for the 2020 construction. At this time, council could take action to adopt a resolution authorizing Jeff W. McCullough to act as an agent on behalf of the city and sign the project agreement. Commits the city to one half of the construction costs and commits the city to a maintenance program for design life of the facility constructed.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pontiac,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed,
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of Economic Development Services Agreement with the Manistee Area Chamber of Commerce. On February 5th, 2019, City Council voted unanimously in support of the concept of the Manistee Area Chamber of Commerce to provide economic development services for the city and directed the city attorney and staff to draft an agreement. A 3-year agreement has been drafted with the effective date of July 1st, 2019. That includes the following: an annual payment of $20,000, scope of service, and a required quarterly report to the city council on their activities. At this time, council could take action to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the Economic Development Services Agreement with the Manistee Area Chamber of Commerce. Do I have a motion?
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I think Barry was right when he said we went through this whole thing with the DDA, and now we're going through this with the chamber. What are we getting? We're given $20,000 and they're gonna come up with a report and all this, but what are they gonna work on?
I would like to hear like a plan, a year's plan. If, I don't know if Stacy can come up and,
Well, it's laid out in the scope of services, and what we're asking them the chamber to do is to serve as the city's initial point of contact for economic development services, which could then go into a lot of different directions depending on what those contacts develop. We're asking them to build relationships with state and regional economic development entities, do at least 4 business retention visits per month, outreach and follow-up with developers to market various sites in the city, and then a very broad category of other such services as necessary. And I think it's important to keep in perspective that we're engaging the chamber for $20,000 annually. Their expected budget is in excess of $100,000. There's other public and private partners in this. So realistically, for $20,000, we might be able to realize on average about 8 hours a week of work for that person. So we have to keep it, we can't expect them to do everything just for us for $20,000. And we also have to keep in mind too, that this is a partnership with the chamber, with other partners that goes outside the city and reaches to the county. So we're all working together for the same goal of economic development. But we selected what I think are points that can be documented, can be benchmarked, can be substantiated in reports on a monthly basis to myself, and then a quarterly report out to council. And plus, remember that there's a 90-day out. If the council isn't satisfied with the performance of the chamber, they give them notice. In 90 days, it's over.
Do you
Please.
have a list of the partnerships that you have already?
Yeah, I don't have currently with me. I provided it at the last board meeting, or the council meeting, and I can resend it tomorrow.
Has there been anything added? Or
Martin
is it just-
Marietta came in at $1,500 annually for 3 years. And then Iron Fish is coming in, but I don't have the specific dollar amount from them as of yet.
And just so we're clear, it's gonna be a separate board altogether and not just under the chamber?
Well, it is within the chamber.
But you're gonna have,
Yeah, there'll be a separate board, yep. And I just want to clarify that we haven't even received the contract from the city, but I've almost worked, 4 hours just this week with a company in my office today with the MEDC that's trying to create jobs and buy property within the city of Manistee. So there's a lot of work currently being done right now, and we don't even have the contract with the city. So, having this contract in front of you, we are going to be held accountable, and I do appreciate that 90-day clause, because if we provide monthly or weekly reports or monthly reports to THAD, and then we come here at our 90 days and you're not happy, then you can, just terminate the contract right there. But we don't anticipate that happening. We've worked really hard to get where we're at, and we want to see this community grow as well and help our business community and attract and retain what we have here.
and when you get that monthly report, Thad, you're gonna forward it
Yeah,
to
that'll be
us.
forwarded to council, yeah.
Does any of those reports or working towards trying to fill some of those stores downtown?
We'll work in partnership with the DDA, absolutely. I have developers that have contacted us from Developer Day last year that are looking at a couple properties downtown.
Of course, the DDA's got a part-time director until they can find somebody to run it.
Yep, we were open to partnering with the DDA, absolutely.
Have we discussed or gotten on the calendar a meeting with the DDA and the chamber for defining what economic development is to this community?
What we're trying to do is, that's going to be accomplished through the Project Rising Tide, through our Economic Development Initiative, is coming out with some agreed-upon idea of what economic development is for the community. That's going to be part of Project Rising Tide.
And then you're gonna be working with them as well, right?
I'm on the steering committee for Project Rising Tide as well as the Economic Development Committee.
And in terms of, filling storefronts downtown, and Stacy indicated that, she's been working for several months or more than that with the city on economic development. And this is gonna come out in council's weekly update, but she and I have worked with a couple from out of state that's interested in investing in the city. And they have got accepted purchase agreements on 6 buildings in the city that with various closing dates, the latest which is the end of May. And all but 4 of the 6 are in the DDA district.
I'm also interested in what the chamber can do for us outside the DDA, because we obviously have some areas of the city that I think could use some help. The Northern Corridor in particular. So it's not just all about the DDA, it's the whole city, so. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good contract, and you've already demonstrated by gathering all these people to contribute to economic development throughout the community, your strength and your networking skills, and you're bringing people here, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
If I could, You know, the whole idea of Project Rising Tide is collaboration, and I think this is a great first step for us because, again, it links the city with the DDA, with our county partners and our industry. So I think the benefits are much different than we've ever looked at before. And again, I understand, you know, contracts have to be written somewhat vaguely so that they have the ability to grow with the information that is going to be compiled and developed through this collaboration. So I'm looking forward to the progress that I think is going to come from this investment.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here, Stacy, to explain your side. For me, it's pretty simple. We have a contract, and council, we're responsible for making sure that we receive value for the tax dollars we spend. We will hold the chamber accountable, and I'm sure that they will be producing for us, and we'll be able to, at the end of the day, say this is a value we receive for a dollar. If that doesn't happen, we have that 90 days. We give them 90 days notice and we're gone. We're not going to go back. We're all familiar with what happened in the past with economic development, and none of us want to go there. We want to see some action. So I'm going to be supporting this, and I do appreciate you coming in and explaining.
Thank you, Mayor.
Anybody else? Please take the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Zelinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Szymanski?
Yes.
Councilmember Pontiac?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Notices, communications, and announcements. Oh, boy, here we go. At a report from the Public Safety Department. Look over. Thank you so much for showing up tonight. We appreciate it.
No problem.
Would you like the clicker?
I can have Jeff come here and do the clicking for me.
What's that? Presentations in black and white.
All right, let's see here.
Spider, and I was freaking out.
All right, this is gonna be quick. All right, our public safety team, as everybody knows, consists of both the police and the fire department. Let's do some highlights of this past year. Over the past year, we were awarded the FEMA Assistance to Firefighters Grant. We got the new heart monitors, which we have in service, and the new extrication equipment, which is also in service. It's going very well. The guys really like the new heart monitors. We actually got a new mount that we can have those so they don't get as beat up, that we can hard mount them into the actual rig. So just another added feature. And then you have the Seiche event that Makula started, that occurred here in town that we encountered a large issue with that we had to deal with this year, all avenues of the city. We continue on with our school lunch initiative. That is well received within the all the branches of the schools throughout the community. Myself and Lieutenant Gutowski from the county went over to MAPS. I recommended that we do a tabletop exercise. In that, I put together a PowerPoint and put them through scenarios that they had to make quick decisions on. And I actually threw them a couple of curveballs and told them that Stoneman and Huber aren't around, so you have to start making decisions yourself as people that actually work there, your teachers. So it went very, very well. They're very receptive. Now other school systems within the county are going through the tabletop exercises. We have a brand new evidence locker system downstairs. We went, Sergeant Glass and Officer Van Sickle went through a big overhaul of our evidence room. New policy, it's a very top line project. I'm very happy with where we're at. I took over some space down at the DPW, which made Jeff really happy, so we can have some large items stored down there. But it went very well. I was very happy with the project. We have our ongoing training every year with our pressure point control. I actually expanded on that. We're a team in the city of Kalamazoo, or city of Manistee, excuse me, with both the fire and the police. So we actually do some training with our firemen too on PPCT, because they're with us on a lot of these calls when we might have some issues. So we did that last year, we'll be doing that again this year. We did some certification in OC, and all our officers have updated OC on their belts, and we have the brand new tasers, which we got through the grant program, and we carry those. We brought in one big thing that in talking with the sheriff and Chief Madako up at the tribe is that we want to try to bring in training. It's so expensive to send our officers and our deputies in the area elsewhere. So we started hosting training and brought in a company out of the Chicago area, and we had it fully, I think it was 40-some people that were in there. Crime 123 was about interviewing, and it was a very, very well received. Officer Jeff Peffley retired last year, which has been a hole within our organization that still has yet to be filled. We'll be looking to hopefully fill that at some point, but we've been short-staffed since his retirement. Another, I don't know if it's really a highlight, but I wanted to point out that we had that sodium azide incident. It's pretty interesting that an incident that has never really occurred in the United States, only one other one occurred here in Manistee. A lot of things were learned from that. There was a great debriefing that was held and a great document that was put together by Lieutenant Gutowski, and he's now going around and talking about it and how we handled it and the lessons learned. We have a lot of people reaching out to Detective Glass because he handled that actual investigation, trying to learn from how we did handle it and what we did right and what we did wrong. So hopefully we'll never have to handle another incident like that again. Our Polaris was delivered last year. That was also on a grant. That's been fully outfitted with a rescue platform on the back. Finally, it appears that we don't have any more leaking issues with it, so I'm sort of pretty happy right now. Officer Shands is new to scent as of last year. Last year we had 20 cases that he was able to do in the city of Manistee, which is more than double than what we've had in the past. He's doing a fine job. We're really happy with his performance. Upon the fire department's recommendation, we started in-service training monthly. We do it the last Wednesday of the month. We just designate that, and each captain and myself all have different times we have to do the modules. We actually have that next week. We also had that Fifth Avenue Pier rescue that happened the night of the parade there in December. That was a pretty long incident that we worked hand in hand with the county and the Coast Guard on. And then we did some confined space training over at Morton Salt. All of our guys went over there and they actually did some pretty nice exercises in a confined space area. We're very good at what we do with those type of high angle or confined space. Very impressive. We utilize the fire education trailer, probably not as much as I would like to. Daniel Reck, who's pictured there, has been here for a little over a year. He's being tasked with a lot more now. He's taken over at the schools for Captain Dominic, who retired, and I asked him to try to see how much more we can get that trailer out. That was a pretty big investment. We need to get it out there. The kids love it. We have it out during the summer, but I want to get it out to the schools and just use it a lot more. And Daniel's doing a fine job. There's a picture of the Polaris before it was totally outfitted. Hopefully we'll be able to use that a lot. We will be utilizing that a lot. This is a day last year when we were having one of our monthly trainings when we were doing some high angle rescue, working off the back of the ladder and rescuing a mannequin out of the second floor in a couple different manners. So wonderful training. During one thing that we've really committed to at the fire department was to have a pretty robust tryout for our department. We want to make sure that we're hiring quality people, and this is just a picture of Captain Dominic tethering when they have to go up and down the ladder. It's one thing we never did. We're hiring people and we don't even have them go up and down our ladder, and to me I want to make them comfortable going up and down our aerial ladder. So that was just one of the stations, one of the 11 stations that we have them do.
I might mention that I have been up that ladder and down.
I've heard some stories, but we'll just leave it at that. How am I doing, Jeff? I'm right up soon. Okay. All right. Ice rescue training, we do a lot. One hole that we're going to find right now is that Ledesma over from the Coast Guard is moving on, and he's been the guru in the area about ice rescue. He's really top notch, and he's actually moving on. We still continue. Our guys went out themselves and did some training here recently, but we always want to try to keep going on our ice rescue training because you just never know when it's going to be needed. And you can see there, it's a cooperative effort between us and the Coast Guard. This is a picture. We not only help out with the lunch, but we also help out with cleaning up afterwards. And this is over at the high school, and the guys are sitting there helping up doing all the dishes and the trays. There's a nice picture of Casman during lunch last year. We also went over there during Thanksgiving, so last year we were there twice and served a large meal during the Thanksgiving time. It's nice to sit down and also sit down with the kids at the schools after we're done serving and interact with them. So something that I keep pushing and keep telling them to make sure that we're getting some FaceTime with the kids. I think our school program that we started after I took over here 2 years ago has really been moving forward, always trying to look for new things to do. So there's just a picture there of when we were doing the confined space rescue training there at Morton Salt. It's a cooperative effort between us and them, and it goes pretty well. I can tell you that Chief Kozel probably will never be tied up and lowered into one of those. Someone else can do that. Councilmember Beaton, I don't know if it's something you ever want to try.
I could be
Tried the ladder, maybe
under
one
the
of
right
okay.
circumstances.
Alrighty. So let's talk about a little statistics. This is our fire department statistics. On the left is 17, on the right is our 18 statistics. Look down, about 70 calls for the year. Up, as you can see, is our mutual aid. I know we've had some discussions about that. And I've actually had a good discussion today with medical control about our issues with mutual aid. But we're consistent, and we're still out there providing a great level of service to our constituents. Police department up a little bit. If you look at our calls, and I broke it down a little bit more, our dispatch complaints up about 5%. That's what that's saying is that we're either getting called by dispatch to respond to an actual location, or we're doing a self-initiated. We're saying we're at a location and they're going to put us on the complaint, so it's twofold. Dispatch complaints not only encompass in the city, but if we're helping outside the city. Written complaints were up about 22%, 1,600. Written complaints, those are actually writing a piece of paper, be it non-criminal or criminal. Out of those, we have, of those criminal cases, we had about 1,785 offenses that we wrote complaints on last year. And for the size of the department and per capita we have, that's a considerable amount in my book. Our tickets are up. Our tickets are up about 43%. Our arrests are a little bit up, and our accidents are just a little bit up. So we're keeping busy, and this is with 3 or 4 months with being one officer down. So happy with the way that the men and women are performing. Some of the investigation highlights, the only thing that really went up is comparison to last year's our non-aggravated assault. A non-aggravated assault is like a simple assault and battery. Somebody's hit somebody with their hands in that manner. Our larcenies are down a little bit. Our burglaries are up just a smidgen. I think our larcenies are down because we wound up catching a couple of last year that were going out performing a lot of our larcenies, and we're sentenced to prison here just recently, so that's always good stuff. One thing that I comment on, I'm sorry? That's good stuff?
I said I appreciate the business.
No problem. One thing that I commented on, and I always try to work on, is interdepartmental cooperation. This is just a photo of the parade, right before the parade. I invited the chief and the sheriff to walk with me and to walk with the tree, and we're going to keep doing that. I'll probably try to get the state involved, maybe in the Coast Guard, because we're a community here of law enforcement and public safety here in Manistee County, so I always want to make sure that we're very inclusive. So, anybody have any questions for myself? Sir.
Chief, I've got one. The fires, it was doubled from last year. Was there any particular cause for the increase?
It's just fire runs. We've actually only had 2 workers, but it's just fire runs. So some of them were probably just small.
Oh, okay.
But no specific cause, no arsonists out there. I think we only had really 1 arson complaint last year.
I would like to add, I appreciate the FaceTime with the youth. I encourage that, and I would like to see some faces down at the Armory as well. I know we're busy, but if, sometimes you can pop in, and you have been off duty, so I appreciate that. And even have some volunteers down there, in the free time.
Certainly. We definitely can continue to do that and try to do more.
And I appreciate, I got the opportunity to put on all the fire gear. We had a Girl Scout troop, trip down to the fire department, or fire hall, or fire station, sorry. And it was pretty neat to hear the history and go through everything, so I encourage you guys to stop down there. And we have a really nice building, and it's not very common to have something like that here, so, and that equipment was heavy, so I can appreciate what they do.
One more, I would just like to suggest that maybe the ice rescue team participate in the polar plunge next year.
I think
Little challenge for you, and maybe challenge your partner in Public Works.
Did this already take place?
It did, it took place this year.
How'd that go?
But, well, yeah.
Would you do it again?
I would.
Okay.
They raised like $22,000
That's
for
awesome.
the Special Olympics.
I will tell you this, there has been a gauntlet that's been thrown down by Public Works to take on public safety in softball this summer. So at some point, we're gonna do that. We've accepted the challenge. I just don't know how many injuries we will have after that, pulled hamstrings, torn up knees, but make sure, it should be a fun time.
Well, ice water will heal all those.
Yes.
I mean,
There's choices, sorry.
Chief, could you tell them what that sodium azide is? I don't know, a lot of people know what that is.
Sodium azide is just, it's a method that people can use to consume to commit suicide. It's not very common at all. It's very common in Asia, not common in the States. So, very deadly. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Next, citizens, or concerns and comments. Citizens' comments. This is a portion for citizens to comment on municipal services, activities, and areas of city involvement. This is not a question and answer session or period. Citizens in attendance shall be recognized by the mayor for comments. Letters submitted to council will not be publicly read, and the comments should be held to 5 minutes. Does anyone like to comment on municipal services or activities? Please state your name and address.
David Homer, 909 High Street. Some of you came out to see me last year when I invited the Libertarian governor candidate, Bill Jeleno, to come to our city, and he accepted. This year, this week, in 2 days, I'm going to strive to have an open-up dialogue between all political parties, especially since Northwest Michigan has gotten their official affiliate from the Libertarian Party at the end of last year. This week, on Thursday, March 21st, the Manistee Area Tea Party has invited us to come speak at their monthly meeting at the Bungalow Inn. So I'd like to invite the council, the city, and the public to come out and hear me speak again. The presentation begins at 6:30, but come at 5:30 if you want some good bar food, pub food, and talk and get a good chair. That's at the Bungalow Inn this Thursday. So thank you.
Anybody else?
Hello again, my name is Thomas Dame, 635 Piney Road. I am proud to be a new member of this community, and I just want to maybe end the meeting on a little bit of a bright note. I'm a retired state engineer, federal engineer, most recently science teacher, 8th grade. And I'm proud of all of you for spending time to do this. I'm proud of all of you for being here. So just bear with me. Raise your right hand. Put it over your left shoulder. Everybody, come on. Right hand over your left shoulder. And say, gosh, I'm good. Gosh, I'm good. Come on. Gosh, I'm good. I'm proud of all of you. I'm proud of all of you. I'm proud of you. We could be somewhere else, but you're here doing the public good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gosh, I'm good.
Appreciate it. Anybody else? Okay, I guess we're down to, oh, I didn't see her coming up.
Sorry, one
All right.
question or concern, Allison, 609 Davis Street again. This, I don't really know if this can be directed to you guys or if it needs to go through Jeff McCula. It's in regards to the roads. We only have one Catholic church now, which is St. Joe, and that road is getting very, very bad. And it's very concerning watching the elderly people cross the road at times, watching them maneuver around the potholes as well. So I don't know if that's something that you guys can address to see about getting that road specifically fixed, possibly ahead of time or sooner. I mean, like my Davis Street, I live on Davis Street and that road's terrible too, but I don't care about that street. I just mainly care about, what is it, 6th Street, I think, which is St. Joe's Street, because that road is very concerning to me, especially being the only road that has the only Catholic church in town. So I just hope you guys consider getting the road fixed sooner than later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, I guess we go to officials and staff.
Nothing at this time.
Nothing, Your Honor, thank you.
You have anything else, Tim?
Good, thank you.
Mr. Bradford? Planning, there you go, you still? Engineer? Does Mr. McCula have anything else?
Groans.
The request of the city manager.
Yeah, throw me under the bus.
So he just wanted me to mention to council and to the public that we've been running a second and third shift through the heart of the winter, and really to balance out our staff and our equipment and try to make the winter maintenance more consistent 6 days a week. So we just brought those guys back in, so everybody's on the same shift on Monday. I think they did a great job during the evenings trying to keep up with the plowing, get a jump on it for schools. And my kids ask me every night, are we going to have school in the morning? And I keep telling them we'll never close the school because of the city street. So, but I think they did a really good job with that. The second thing that isn't quite as much fun to talk about, but we've been monitoring erosion down at First Street Beach for several years. And 2 years ago, there was some substantial erosion that occurred just below the overlook before you get to Cherry Street. And we spent about $10,000 out of fund balance in order to do some repairs down at the bottom, and we're hoping that that would hold up. This winter with the type of storms, the wave action, and especially the high water levels, those areas did hold up, but now the areas adjacent to them, and for, what'd you say, about 200 feet or so, has some pretty severe erosion. So we're looking at options right now on what it's going to take to permanently fix that. We think we do have an opportunity with a contractor, crane and barge, and doing marine work when they start the dock replacements in a couple or in several weeks. But we also today noticed that west of the boat launch, there's an area where the entire bank is sloughing off, and it's a dangerous situation there. So we've actually put up some caution tape around that, and we'll be evaluating that. These type of repairs are going to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, so we'll keep you updated as we know more about it, though.
Kind of bring us up to date on the marina, the new docks.
Sure. We've received the signed contracts back from the contractor. They've submitted their bonds and insurance. They've submitted a draft progress schedule, and we're in the process of setting up our pre-construction meeting. Basically, what they are requesting is that, or what they're proposing is to mobilize their equipment to Manistee as soon as the state releases or lifts the frost laws off the highway. So probably mid-April or so. That gives them enough time to purchase and get delivery of their materials. And then because it took longer for the insurance company to approve the funds, we didn't award it in the, quite in the time frame that we had expected. So they've also asked for an extension of that contract by a couple weeks. But we think that the way that they're proposing to actually do the construction, we can negotiate to have some of the docks released to us earlier than what we had expected, and then some of the ones at the other end we can receive later than what we expected, but it shouldn't hamper the operation of the marina.
Thank you.
Do you expect to be open for tie lines for troops, or are they gonna go back to Sames again this year?
What weekend was Tight Lines? Do you remember?
It's first week in May, I believe.
So there's gonna be too much construction activity down there at that time.
I understand that we're doing a grant for the Community Foundation for the marina. Be covering.
What we are anticipating, and we're scrambling right now to do, the insurance proceeds covered all the docks that were damaged at the marina, but there are 6 that are not covered by the insurance. So those 6 are not scheduled for replacement. We applied for a grant through the Community Foundation last year to help pay for those last 6 grants, and we were not successful. So what we did in anticipation of trying to find funds for completing that project, we permitted to replace all those docks and designed for it, and we even submitted the bids or requested the bids, so they priced that out separately, knowing that it would be built at a separate time and through a separate mobilization, just to get us an idea of what those 6 would cost. So right now we're putting together a grant application to the Waterways Fund, trying to maximize as much money as we can out of that. That's due April 1st, so it's due very quickly. And then we're evaluating, and I've got a meeting set up with the foundation to look at what we might be able to be competitive for requesting additional funds from them using those 2, but then likely we'll have to find some local monies to fill in the gap and pay for the rest of that if we wanted to complete those last 6 docks.
Anybody else have any questions? Thank you. Rising tide. What's that? Do you have anything? Hi.
So I guess this is just a comment answering Councilmember Pontiac earlier. We're gonna have Joe Borgstrom, our consultant for economic development in the community, on April 10th to have a meeting with the DDA to kind of talk about the direction of economic development and then how can we, get that joint vision or joint effort together. He'll be meeting with the DDA board and in their board meeting for economic development, so I think it'll be great timing. And then in the same day, we will be meeting with the County Visitors Bureau to talk about the efforts and initiatives for economic development as well, to kind of get everyone on the same page, or at least the idea where we like to see people working together. So,
Is the council invited to that as well?
it's the public meeting for the DDA that will be participating and making the comment, and then with the County Visitors Bureau, I can invite any of you who would like to participate. Really, for the moment, it's only me, the consultant Joe Borgstrom, and then the director of the County Visitors Bureau. But I'll be sure to also report back to you what happens after both meetings if you guys are not around in the public meeting. I just got approved by the DDA board to apply on their behalf to an AARP grant to revitalize the downtown, using some of the MSU extension study that was done some time ago. Here, I've heard a lot about this from the community, and I thought it was a good opportunity to, put the study to use. And then I just got redevelopment ready certified by MEDC probably last week, so I will be working with Mr. Taylor and the city and kind of updating the certification for the city to make sure it's kept up within the 3 years and we don't lose it and we still stay redevelopment ready. So that's everything for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for that? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I think we're down to council members.
I just have to say that I will be absent for the April 2nd meeting. I will be enjoying the weather in San Diego, so.
Do we need to vote on that? Mr. Kowalski.
I just want to thank Jeff and the guys at the public, down at the garage, because they really kept my driveway open pretty good this year. So, but everybody did a good job for the city. Thank you.
Yeah,
Mansky?
I agree. I think our city did a really good job getting through this winter, and it wasn't an easy winter. Also, just wanted to make a quick comment on the people who commented on the ordinance for marijuana. I thought your arguments were very compelling.
Mr. Cooper?
Nothing.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm keeping my fingers crossed that both of those grants, the one for 2019 and the one for 2020 for roads goes through. We could really, really use it. So thank you for doing the work to making sure that we don't miss those opportunities.
Mr. Goodsby?
I will also be gone April 2nd.
Really?
Really?
I think
will
we
not
would-
be in San Diego, however, but I will not.
I think we need to have a vote and see if it's okay if you go.
Well,
You were quick to,
outrule Mrs. Goodspeed and we'll.
I don't want to go there.
All right then.
I apologize, I don't seem to be in rhythm tonight. I will try to do better. I felt kind of clumsy tonight for some reason. We will improve. With that, I appreciate everybody speaking tonight. I appreciate everybody being here. Please continue to come and speak your mind. We do appreciate it. Thanks and have a great day. Worked it out. Motion adjourned?
I will make that motion.
Adjourned. Have a great evening. Let's get out of here.
You caught that too?